Welcome, STEMgineers, to STEM to Stern, the podcast where curiosity meets critical thinking. Join Chauntée and Jake as they discuss STEM topics that spark debate and exploration.
Hello there. Welcome back to STEM to Stern. This is Chauntée.
It is. And that's Jake.
Hi. And today we are talking about what is Chauntée's favorite STEM-related myth and why.
Well, I'm going to start by saying STEM was not really a thing for me until I was older and I realized that was a thing. So I started out with exploring STEM as an adult, which I think is a different approach than a lot of people have now. But something that I always thought when I heard the word STEM, I would immediately think like robots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a huge myth in the world of STEM right now, is that STEM has to be robots or has to be technology like computers or 3D printers.
That
or
it has to be high tech.
Yes, it has to be these high tech things for it to be STEM. You have to be coding all the time. That's not what STEM is.
And coding's an important part of STEM, but it's not a hard and fast rule.
So that was one thing that I feel like I ran into a lot when I was trying to write curriculum for STEM. It was like, oh, well, I don't have these like high-powered robots. But then you start to realize that there's so much more to what STEM is than using a robot. And you can teach the learning and the concepts without it. But go.
So what is, to elaborate on that, please. What is at the heart of STEM?
I'm so ready for this debate, and I really hope people debate me in the comments because I really want to hear your side of this. But first off, STEM does not stand alone with each subject, right? So science does not immediately equal STEM. Technology does not immediately equal STEM. STEM is a whole thing as a collaborative group. Science is a part of STEM. Technology is a part of STEM, but STEM is including all of those things together.
So STEM is like combining science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and using all of those tools at the same time.
Right.
Okay.
But it's also a way of thinking as well. So, for instance, technology, when we think of technology, right, especially us that we do code robots, that is what we do. I'm constantly learning new things on coding, but that is not the only use of technology. Technology is anything that helps with the advancement of things. So I told my students when I was teaching, like, you realize that you're using a pencil right now, and that's technology. Scissors, that's technology. Everything that is helping us advance is technology. So whether or not you think you're doing technology needs to be considered in that definition of what technology is.
That's actually a really good point, because like scissors use a fulcrum and you rotate around that fulcrum to cut things, and a pencil, there's a lot of material science that goes into there. It's not as high tech as the material science that you see inside of a cell phone, but it's true. A pencil is a good example of how we use all of these STEM subjects to make something that works, that helps
You
us.
have to have these people for, let's stick with pencil because that's a great one. Pencil, right? You have to understand the concept of lead and understanding what to put into this pencil to make sure it's safe for people to use, because lead is not a safe thing in and of itself, right? It can be, but it's not always safe. And we've had problems with lead in the past. So how do we make sure that this lead is not dangerous? So we have all of those people behind that. Also, why is the pencil shaped the way it is? There were designers behind that to figure out what was the best shape to put a pencil in so that it works for people to be able to use. So you think about it like that takes another group of people to do. And then also you have to have the people who are marketing it. How are we marketing it? How are we selling it and making sure that it's useful and also correctly displayed? So you think about all that stuff, and then the manufacturing companies that have to make millions and millions of them.
So this kind of leads me into this question, and this is kind of a leading question in a way, but like, so you're saying that STEM doesn't necessarily require technology for you to practice it. So can you experience STEM by building models with glue and toothpicks and marshmallows and that kind of thing? Like, crafting?
So that's another misconception, and I'm glad you brought that up. People often are like, oh, this is crafting and this is STEM, right? Now, can crafting lead to STEM? Yes, because you have to make a prototype, and sometimes the recyclable material that you have is what you have to build a prototype with.
And architects do that, building
Yeah.
models, and yeah.
But it's also the way that you approach it that impacts whether or not you're actually doing STEM or not. If I throw stuff on the table with students in my room and I put down directions on how to build this prototype, then they're just recreating something. So that is kind of a craft, right? You're rebuilding something. But if I say to them, hey, I'm trying to solve this problem, can you make a prototype that will solve this problem?
So what you're saying is STEM is more of a mindset or a way of thinking than it is just application of technology.
Right. And we need all those creative thinkers to be part of the puzzle. That is the part that actually makes it, important for everyone. Because STEM is not just for, oh, you're really, really smart, which I think everyone has smart. I don't think that there are people that are more smart in different fields, but I think everyone has something to contribute. So oftentimes that's a misconception as well. So that's my take. Take it or leave it. Debate it. I'm into it.
I tend to agree with you on that. I think that's a good observation. Yeah, you don't necessarily need the highest technology to practice STEM. It's more of a way of thinking.
Yeah. And technology is anything around you that is helping with advancement. So you're using it for everything we do.
From a pencil to an iPhone.
That's right. But let us know how you feel in the comments. And also let me know what's your, most favorite myth in STEM, because I would like to know.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Later.
Thanks for tuning in to STEM to Stern. We hope today's episode got you thinking. If you enjoyed the discussion, subscribe and share it with others. And be sure to check out our show notes for free resources and links that go along with today's episode. Until next time, keep questioning and keep exploring, STEM engineers.